Let's talk about this Steam Deck. This is something that we talked about probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes ago, maybe sooner than that. I don't remember where there was some data miners that did find like code names and stuff leading to this like Steam console or something along those lines. And we did get the official announcement yesterday, which, funny enough, when this was announced, Elgato also announced a new Stream Deck. So there was a lot of confusion online for a lot of people that I thought was pretty funny. Anyway, all right, so let's break it down. The Steam Deck is more or less like Valve's attempt at their own version of a Switch to play Steam games on the go, which is awesome. I can play Mass Effect on the go now, which is absolutely incredible. I'm here for that. Let's go over some pricing. So we got $400 is going to be the base price, which is honestly not too bad. That's for a 64 gigabyte model. We got $529 for the 256 gigabyte model, and we also have the $649 for the 512 gigabyte model. This all having 16 gigs of RAM built into it. We have the eMMC drive for the 64 gigabyte, which is going to be a little bit slower for storage. Meanwhile, the other two is going to have the NVMe drives, SSD drives for the other two, so that may kind of entice you a little bit to go the other way. As well as the 512 has a premium anti-glare glass, which to further try to bring you up that one. They all come with a carrying case as well. So originally, Valve was saying a December release. There was their original mindset, and they even went on to say, you have to pay like a $5 reservation fee for it, whatever. And they're just like, oh yeah, we just want to try to gauge the pre-orders, so we can get shipping handled right and send out just the right amount. I don't think they clearly didn't expect the blow up that was about to happen from this, because now a majority of orders aren't even projected until sometime early 2022 instead of December like they originally planned for. There is going to be a dock that comes with it, but that will be sold separately. You can pretty much plug this in to any TV or monitor and just use as a basic computer. It does come with its own OS. It does come with a Steam OS built in, but that can be uninstalled, and you can install Windows onto it or whatever, which is very interesting. The modding community is going to have a field day with that. This is basically a portable computer, not a console. That's how they're kind of working it up and talking about it. As for what like the more or less the Joy-Cons or the controllers, however you want to refer to it, or what we got going on there, both sides do have motion pads to help with like maybe some FPS. It has the ABXY, it has D-pad, has triggers and bumpers, and it also has 4 assignable grip buttons on the back, which is to be expected. You're going to need a lot of buttons for a few of these PC games. The handheld screen is 720 OLED screen, and the battery life is going to be 2 to 8 hour battery life. I imagine more leaning towards that too, if you're depending on what you're playing. If you're playing maybe like Stardew Valley or something, yeah, you may get that 8 hours. But if you're playing like Doom, or you're playing I know they kept showing off a lot for like Control or Star Wars Jet, Fallen. I'm going to bank on 2 hours, right? I will say this is already being obviously scalped as we would expect. The scalping has been just unbelievable, the past 2 years, basically. The scalp prices that I've seen, $850 ranging up to $5,000. And the sad part is, some of these are being purchased. If you go on eBay and you look at the sold list, there are people that's already bought this for $1,200. There's already people that's bought this for right at $1,000. I think I saw one purchase for $1,500. Man, these scalp prices are just out of control. And the same thing for the Switch OLED, of course. Those scalp prices have been absolutely insane as well. But what are you guys' thoughts on this Steam Deck? Obviously when it came to their whatever was called the Steam Box, that's what it was. Yeah. When it came to the Steam Box, obviously didn't do super well, but the big problem with it is that, cool, you want to make a console that plays Steam games for this amount of money. Why buy that for that amount of money when I could just buy a computer and still play your Steam games? Right? That was the big thing. So when we talked about these leaks, we acknowledged that, hey, this could possibly be pretty decent because it has its own unique purchase to it of where you can make this portable. Now, the battery life, that is concerning. 2 to 8, like I said, I'd lean more towards 2, depending on what you're playing. But overall, what are you guys' thoughts on this? Is this something that you might be interested on down the line? I mean, I know this is something I am interested on, but by no means am I going to try to grab it right away. But it is something I'm going to keep an eye on. I will say the fact that you can uninstall the Steam OS and install your own Windows is very interesting, and I will also add on to that. I did see this. With the base Steam OS they have right now, there are certain games that you will not be able to play unless you uninstall it and put in a Windows. Examples being, even though it's on Steam, Destiny 2 was an example. Apex Legends was another example. Just as a couple of examples that it will not be playable on the Steam OS right now, maybe later, because they obviously, Apex is Epic Games Store.
Yep.
So you can use Epic Games Store on this thing, whatever. And, I did get a chance to watch, and you walked in with me, and we both watched it, the IGN hands-on. And one thing they did say is that when they plugged this up into a monitor and just started playing with it, they didn't even know they were on a Steam Deck. They just really felt like a normal computer. But with that said, what are you guys' thoughts? How are you guys feeling about the Steam Deck?
I mean, it seems interesting and whatnot. It is sort of funny to think that they went from December to 2022, but to be fair, they couldn't have very high expectations considering how the Steam box went.
Exactly.
And just as you were saying, like, what was the point of it when I can have a computer? Shoot. What's the point of it when I can just get an HDMI cable and plug my computer tower into my TV?
Yep.
I mean, but it does seem interesting. I would be curious to see how it is. I'm, like you, Alex, curious how modders and things like that are going to play with this, considering it is pretty much just a more or less a miniature computer, almost.
Yep.
Speaking of games and whatnot, I would be curious to see what the actual benchmarks and whatnot are going to be on stuff, because you said like Doom Eternal and things like that, guessing only about 2 hours of the 8 hours battery life. I'd be curious to see what actual benchmarks and whatnot of how far it would go and what can actually push the system on draining and everything, and see what actually we can play with on that.
Yeah, I was just double checking the prices as to see also as well as like the memory in that on these, and like for this 512 one, is that total storage 512?
Yes, but there is an SD card port.
Yeah, you can put in an SD card. Yep.
Okay, because I was looking at this little rotating image of the Steam Deck, looking for a port on it somewhere to be able to extend the storage.
Yeah, it's on the top.
It's an SD card?
Yes.
Yep.
Man, they're holding back like Nintendo right now. Because the only thing there is, it's like you would almost, if you can get an SD card for it, then it would almost be worth just getting the $399 version if you were wanting to just have this for carrying around in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, for the price increase to get a 256 over that 64, you can get a much bigger SD card.
Right.
Because that was the thing I was looking at first, because I realized the size. I know you had set them, but it didn't click with me. And a lot of these games that are on Steam, because I imagine a lot of people are going to want this for their own Steam library and just be able to carry it to play their games there.
Yep.
A lot of these games on Steam have very bloated file sizes.
Yes, they do.
Sure.
So it's like that was my concern I was starting to have there. But if you can put extra storage in it, then that's less of an issue. But an SD card is
still pretty limiting.
A little limiting.
Yeah, it is. Overall, is this something that both of you might look to pick up at some point? I'm with you that $399 pricing is kind of enticing. Just throw an SD card into it and good to go. Yeah, the only downside for that is just, it would be nice to have that NVMe eDrive SSD for the 256 and above. But I mean, still at $400 price tag, that is very enticing.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll necessarily look at it anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Because I mean, every, like you had said, looking at that page, everything is Q2 or later on their page right now. So it's like even looking at it anytime soon is not really a viable option. But I mean, it would be interesting, but at the same time, a lot of the games I would probably want to play while I'm out and about aren't going to be like super intensive games.
Right.
They're just going to be like kind of my relaxing games, which I don't really need this for, because I could probably play my Switch. I like the idea of this. I just don't know if it's for me right now.
For me personally, no. I'll be very curious to see what people do to mess with it, considering they can more or less uninstall and add their own personal stuff to it. But me personally picking up, no.
Gotcha. like I said, it's something I may look at. That it's down the line. I'm not going to jump onto it super quick, but mostly I do want to see what the modding community is going to do with it. That's probably one of my biggest interests right now.
Oh yeah, next year after people have had these for a little while, you're going to see some of these coming back with some crazy collection of games on them.
Yep.
That they're probably just going to wipe it, add a bunch of stuff on there, and then sell it for like $100, $150 extra.